Throne and Liberty, Amazon and NCSoft's newest MMO. It's free to play, but is it pay to win? And can the average casual gamer hop in and have a good time, or is it too late? Welcome to the Tavern. I'm Shikachu, and today in Ordinary Gamer's Point of View, I'm going to share with you my personal experience that I have had so far on Throne and Liberty, and you can decide for yourself. Full disclaimer, I am not a pro gamer. This is not a guide on how to get good. I'm simply starting the discussions that I wish that I had when I began gaming, because I find that a lot of these discussions and topics revolve around how to dominate a game, especially dominating PvP games, and less on how to just have fun. With that being said, let's go on to my first topic. The number one comment that I get, whether, like I'm hanging out with friends in the real world or I'm on Twitch, is, yeah, but isn't Throne and Liberty pay to win? And I mean, maybe, but not really. So Lucent, real quick, is a currency that you can use in game. You can use it either in the auction house or you can use it in the shop for the game. So like to buy cosmetics and such. It takes 100 US dollars to buy 6,000 Lucent. And 6,000 Lucent can at best get you one good weapon, but what about the rest of your gear? And don't even get me started on if you want like the top weapon, which comes from Queen Bellendir right now. And as you can see, this weapon is going to set you back somewhere around 17 to 1,800 US dollars for one weapon. So yeah, you can buy your way to the good stuff, but I mean, why would you? Most of it can be ground out for free. And honestly, if someone's beating you with that weapon, chances are they didn't grind that out. They literally paid $2,000 just so they could go beat up on people. And if that's you, thanks for supporting the game, I guess, and keeping it going. Yeah! Most of this stuff can be achieved just by grinding your way through the game. Now, that doesn't mean that it will be an easy grind, but you don't necessarily have to drop hundreds or even thousands of dollars just to be good at the game. All right, so my second point, I'm just going to quickly cover how quickly it's going to take you, or how, what it's going to take for you to get to max level. For me, that took around 30 hours. I don't really have hours a day to dedicate to playing an MMO, so it took me about 2 weeks to do this, kind of just spread out in between, 1 hour gaming sessions. I will say that the story actually wasn't that bad. I heard such terrible things about the story before I started playing the game when I was watching reviews of the people who had early access. So my bar was, like under the floor at that point. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're a Final Fantasy XIV player, you're not going to think this is an amazing story. However, when compared to similar titles like Black Desert or New World, honestly, the story does a better job of bringing the world together. They're sort of a series of loosely interconnected stories, and that helps build up the world around you as you play through it. There's even a full musical number with a bard dwarf, and it's kind of cheesy, but it's really cool, actually. I really enjoyed that part. I wish I had footage of it, but I wasn't recording when I played that part because I didn't even see it coming, didn't expect it. Honestly, if you're a PvE only person who's just bored with your current roster, you could download the game, play levels 1 through 50, and then delete it. I mean, it's free after all. It could cost you nothing. You don't have to engage in PvE if you don't want to. All right, so you've made it to level 50. What's the end game content like? Well, it's kind of like starting all over again. I was super excited once I hit level 50. I queued for the 3v3 arena, and I only had one epic piece, and it was the epic chess piece that you get for completing the MSQ. And but I got beat up pretty good. It was a little embarrassing. Prior to level 50, I didn't really enjoy the co-op dungeons. And that's because I tend to play a tank in whatever games that I am playing at the moment. And this game sort of at the time had a shortage of healers, and it wasn't very fun to run into a dungeon, aggro all the mobs, and then just die. Lucky for me, I decided to coerce my family into playing with me, and once I begged my partner to queue healer for me, the dungeons became a lot more fun to do. There's going to be 3 types of dungeons, mainly in this game. You're going to have your co-op dungeons, and co-op dungeons are the ones you queue for with either a pre-made party or you're going to use the party finder. You're going to also have the open world dungeons, and for those who don't know, open world dungeons are just you literally run in and bam, there's monsters right there. You start fighting. And then the third dungeon is going to be what's called the secret dungeons. Those are pretty much solo dungeons. You do those on your own. You can't queue with anybody, and those can, depending on what class you are, can be a pain in the butt sometimes. These dungeons require two different types of currency in order for you to collect drops from them. The first is dimensional currency that you're going to use for co-op dungeons, and the second are abyssal contract tokens, and those are used for the open world dungeons. Now, like I said, I did coerce family members into playing with me, so it's nice to get on Discord, yell at each other about whose fault that it was that we wiped, and then proceed to complain because we didn't get the drops we were hoping for. All right, so my fourth point or topic or whatever we're calling it is kind of an expansion on the previous, and that's going to touch on the PvE versus PvP aspects of the game. All right, so PvE consists of the solo dungeons, the co-op dungeons, and sometimes the open world dungeons, but only in the daytime. For the open world dungeons, when I say that it's PvE during the day, I mean as in the game's day-night cycle, not our real-world cycle. As soon as night hits and you're in those dungeons, it turns into every man for themselves until the big guilds arrive, and then it just turns into a massacre. Similar story to the world events that are labeled conflict. Now, the peace ones are all good. It will give everyone a chance to participate, but if you see this symbol over an event, just know that the big guilds will zerg the heck out of you. I've only been on one server the entire time, so I can't speak for all servers, but this one is super zergy. The big guilds with high gear scores are hoarding access to the best bosses that have the good drops, and it can be quite a pain. That being said, each boss usually spawns both in conflict at one time and then in peace at another. Now, the only flaw I see with this system right now is that the peace bosses award those who do the most damage, which sort of rewards people to have DPS builds. I don't know if that's maybe the reason why there's such a healer and tank shortage in the game, but that could be one of the reasons. However, this isn't a huge problem if you're in a guild, because then whoever does the most damage to the boss is not split between persons, it's split between guilds. So, if you're two guilds there and you're duking it out over this one area boss, whoever does the most damage, whatever guild does the most damage to that boss, is going to be the one who collects the better drops. Don't quote me on that though. I am in a party of happy fools and we just like to fight and argue with each other all day. Real talk though. I know that I'm making the guilds sound a bit doom and gloom, but if you've ever played Ark or Guild Wars 2, this really won't be anything new to you. You'll be a little bit familiar with this already. If you're not interested in any PvP or joining a guild, then this may not be the game for you. Now, like I said in the beginning, you could download it, play levels 1 through 50, play through the MSQ, and then delete it because, like I said, it's free. It's a beautiful game. However, all the fun really starts once you hit level 50 and you get to max level and you have, you're playing with friends or you've joined a guild. That's when the fun in the world really opens up. Okay, on to my fifth point or topic. I don't really know what I'm calling it, and I never decided on that. And because I've been talking about the event schedule so far, I'm going to touch on that just a little bit more. Right now, there's an event called the Haunted Harvest that's going on, and it's sort of, kind of celebrating Halloween. And I won't lie, I love it. I love it. It's so freaking cute. Okay, I can't get enough of it, especially because I did not expect this at all. The decorations are adorable. The music really sets the stage. They even have a nightly fireworks show. I know that the game has been out in Korea for quite some time, but I really didn't expect the devs to care that much about the US version to provide these kinds of seasonal offerings within the game. I really expected them to treat this game like a cash grab, where they encourage people to buy a bunch of the in-game currency, spend a bunch of it, on these really expensive gear just so they can beat up on the peons who can't afford, to drop $2,000, $3,000 on gear. And then, of course, we all get frustrated and leave, and then that's the end of the game. That's kind of what I expected. The Haunted Harvest event has its own limited time dungeon, in addition to special candy corn currency for drops and its own special vendors. There's still some issues as far as bugginess goes that I'll address next, but overall it does feel like they care about the game. All right, so we are on to number 6. we're on to the next one. What are the bugs like? Okay, so they're kind of bad, but they're not super bad. There's a few that pop up, but the most annoying ones that have ever happened to me have been when I was first trying to get to Saradama Island. Or Saradoma Island. Sar the island. So you have to ride this giant flying whale and then jump at the right time to get on a platform. The very first time I couldn't even transform into my bird morph and I just get perpetually falling over and over again. The second time I just fell right out of the sky while in bird form. There have been reports of some people bugging out during world bosses and then not receiving their loot, which is really crappy, but it also hasn't happened to me yet, so I don't know. The rest are just really annoying bugs, like these vendors that are stuck in the floor, or sometimes when fighting in the Castleton or Guild arena, I might knock back and stun someone and my tab target just decides it's going to unlock. This could mostly be because I play with a controller, or it could be a bug. Either way, it's not a deal breaker for me, and I'm still enjoying the game. So now we are at my final thoughts. Is Throne and Liberty worth it? Yeah, absolutely. The main MMO that I usually play is Final Fantasy XIV, and I love that game to death. But I'm not a role player, and I'm not a raider, so I tend to just get stuck farming in a farming loop, and it's fine. I love it. I could sow clothes and mine rocks all day. I've really enjoyed Throne and Liberty so far because this is the first time that I think I've really engaged with other players in an MMO, and so far it's been pretty positive. The first time I ran the Duke Magnum dungeon in the game, you know, was thinking too highly of myself and decided that I didn't need to look up the game mechanics. And I thought I could wing it instead, and I could not wing it, you know. But the group that I queued with, they were really patient and really kind, and they actually sat down and, or I wouldn't say sat down. Well, I guess we're playing a game, we're all sitting. But they actually, you know, went through the boss mechanics with me as we were fighting. They didn't complain, cry, and quit, you know, when I, you know, caused the team to wipe. Because remember, I play tank, so, you know, if I'm not aggroing correctly, my team will get wiped. I don't even get that kind of patience in Final Fantasy XIV on the rare occasion that I do decide to raid. So don't let the zergy nature of the game scare you off, because the game hasn't been as toxic as I thought it would have been considering the open world PvP aspect. If you are on the fence about playing the game and you're just kind of concerned about the time that it would take to get your items, consider investing just a little bit of money into getting your traits once you get your epics, because that will be the thing that really helps finish off your build. I spent roughly $17 a month on Final Fantasy XIV, and literally, like I said, all I do is veg out, fish, and mine rocks, sew clothes, make jewelry. That's it. 20 bucks for some traits that I'll use in a PvP element seems like a smaller investment by comparison. If you sat through that entire video and listened to me ramble on about my thoughts on Throne and Liberty, thank you so much. I'd appreciate it if you'd hit those like and subscribe buttons. And if you didn't like it, I don't know, watch it again. Thanks. Bye.